Hi, and welcome to episode 6 of Pappy Hour.
Episode 6.
Here with my co-host Jessica, and we're back coming to you from Point Loma, San Diego, California.
In front of our lovely Christmas tree.
We got the Christmas tree up. We're in the festive holiday spirits here, and
we retrieved from beautiful Home Depot.
Oh yeah, Jessica was not happy about the Christmas tree experience.
I like to be festive.
Yeah, she thought there should have been cider served.
Santa,
someone ringing the bells.
some fake snow.
Elves coming down, carrying the tree to the car, but we were in the Home Depot parking lot of San Diego, California.
And the patrons were not happy in the parking lot. We got our spots swiped.
Yeah.
But we got
a great tree. Okay.
We got a great tree, and then we were like, oh, this one's great. And then we go to get it netted or whatever by the guy, and the base was completely crooked.
It was a crooked base.
So we had to really finagle it, but she's standing pretty sturdy.
It was a crooked stump, but we pulled it off.
We pulled it off.
We
finagled it.
But hey, we got a good show today. We are going to talk about
something very, very central to my father's personality, that if you've ever been to our home or even just had a conversation with him, you know he loves to barbecue.
And today we're going to cook. We're going to talk about cooking.
We're not cooking.
See, I just think about tri-tip and I think about cooking. So we're going to talk about tri-tip. And it's been something passionate to our family for a long time about cooking good tri-tips.
It's one of our love languages.
Yeah. We love
cooking and eating.
To grill.
Because all the best cooks are the people who love to eat the most.
Yeah. If you can't tell by my physique, I really like to eat.
If you're just listening.
If you're just listening, picture Santa, and instead of a red suit, he's in a Tommy Bahama. And
Shout out Tommy Bahama.
Shout out Tommy Bahama. I haven't seen any shirts show up on my front door, which is kind of bad because I went to wear a shirt that I already wore in episode 2 or 3. So Jessica slapped me around a little bit.
We can't be outfit repeating this soon into our journey of podcasting.
But my Tommy Bahama long sleeve Tommy Bahamas are they're few and far in between. So we really need Tommy Bahama to start sending shirts this way to Pappy Hour. We're going to keep plugging you till I see a shirt on the front door.
We're going to keep at it.
All right. Tri-tip. Let's talk about
where do we start?
Where did the tri-tip come from? And why can't you get a good tri-tip anywhere other than the West Coast?
I don't know, Dad. How come?
The tri-tip is a unique cut of meat, and it was introduced. It was basically discovered by allegedly a butcher in the great town of Santa Maria in the mid-50s.
Santa Maria is right near Santa Barbara.
In between San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara along the Central Coast. Mm-hmm. And allegedly, I'm saying this all allegedly because there is a lot of stories out there of who invented the tri-tip. Every
I think the cow invented the tri-tip.
But every great cowboy and rancher thinks that they discovered the tri-tip. But so allegedly in the 50s, a butcher named Bob something cut the meat, and and instead of taking the tri-tip, which is the back of the cow, and it's below the bottom sirloin. So you got your top sirloin, your bottom sirloin.
Sorry, you're saying sirloin?
Sirloin.
Thank you.
Sirloin. As with a little accent. So your sirloin, and it was the bottom part of that. And it's a tri-tip because it's in that triangular form.
Tip.
And most butchering of cattle, they would take that cut and they would make it into hamburger. So no one was taking it as a large piece of meat, like a roast or a large steak. So anyway, this Bob in Santa Maria decided that he was going to take that cut and grill it up for his buddies, and it's history from there. Now, a couple months ago, we were in Ireland, and I was trying to buy a tri-tip, and it does not exist in the country of Ireland. They didn't know what it was.
Plenty of cows.
We went to 3 butcher shops. They heard about it allegedly, in California.
Legend has it.
So we had to settle for a like cut of a tenderloin. It was a little nicer cut, but they don't butcher the cow and save out the tri-tip. So it really is a unique cut of meat to California and the ranching community.
Okay, I want to rewind with you a little bit. Where did your love for cooking and barbecuing originate? Because I know you didn't grow up where, cooking was super big, and you didn't grow up with parents who were, chefs. Like, it wasn't something that was passed down to you as a hobby. You kind of created your own lane of cooking, and how you were a picky eater growing up. So, like, at what point in your life did you realize food is my passion? I love to eat, and if I love to eat, wow, I'm gonna have to learn how to cook.
Well,
how did that journey kind of evolve?
All right, I want to
go back.
I'm gonna start with, I really began the passion for grilling food over an open fire with wood during my Civil War reenacting career. So there weren't any ovens or microwaves or that, so you had to cook everything you were going to eat for the weekend over an open wood fire. So I watched some of the experienced survival guys really cook some cool meals on an open fire, all
like
with
steak and.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had one experience. We were out at a reenactment. It was pouring down rain. We had to start the campfire with kerosene. So here we are, and we kind of made a little makeshift tent to keep the rain from putting out the fire. So underneath a couple of rubber blankets, we've got a kerosene fire that's we doused it all the wet wood in kerosene. So here's wet wood trying to burn off the kerosene, and we cooked a frying pan full of bacon. And it probably took 20 minutes of just kneeling over this fire, keeping the fire going, putting a little more kerosene on it, blowing on it, and getting a pan full of bacon to be done.
Well, it kind of makes sense that you love grilling because you love food and you love fire.
It's two things, yeah.
So,
food and fire.
Yeah.
Like a caveman. So we ate this, and the bacon was the best bacon I ever had.
Yeah, because you were hungry.
Yeah, just cooking on an open fire kind of turns into grilling, right? Everyone that's spoiled with a grill that you go on, just flip on, that's the good life. But if you really want to get down to caveman cooking, it's wood, open fire, and food over that.
So when was the first time you really made something that, like I feel like your specialty is grilling for large amounts of people. You're good at
that.
You're good at the large quantities. When was the first time you really made a meal for a lot of people and you got that satisfaction of they just loved it and they were like.
Well, let me go back further than that, and let me tell you how I knew not to barbecue, not to grill, like Paul Wilson. He used to cook his notorious chicken on the barbecue, and how he would do it was put 20 pieces of chicken on a big grill, turn the grill on high, slather barbecue sauce on it, and then go make a cocktail and forget about it, and it would be burnt black chicken. And that was a big joke of the family. G-Pa burnt the chicken again. So I knew what not to do. I didn't know exactly how to do it, but...
Your parents didn't barbecue?
Yeah, my folks barbecued quite a bit, but it was always,
burgers.
T-bone steak or burgers.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe an occasional pork chop.
Barbecued pork chop?
Barbecue pork chop. Yeah, you could barbecue anything over a
it's just a stove, pretty much.
An old gas grill. But no, I started. We used to have a yearly family reunion, and there would always be a good grill going on there. And one of my cousins, Ron, was a master at grilling over an open fire or
one
wood
of those
fire.
big. It's basically like a trailer you hitch onto the back of your truck.
Yeah, or he would cook a lot of things in a barrel cooking. You take a big 55-gallon drum, and then you just build a oak fire in the bottom of it, and then when the coals go out, you would hang the tri-tips from the barrel, and that was a great method. It was a was a little out of my league, but I watched that done.
So you would just loiter around and learn things one
I
at
would.
a time.
I did a lot of loitering and a lot of listening when I was a little kid, and I picked up that stuff. But when we started doing the big grills, we would do them for your little league softball, and we started doing a couple of the years you were probably like 8 or 9 years old. The opening day ceremonies were like a cold hot dog and a bag of chips and a warm drink. And after a couple years of that, I'm like, you know what, we could probably do this better.
We could level this up.
So we brought out the old family trailer grill.
It was literally a small U-Haul trailer, but a barbecue.
It's about a 6-foot trailer.
And you would tow it behind your truck.
Probably like 3 feet by 6 feet. It would get towed behind the truck.
Yeah, it was huge.
So we fired that up. And
What year is this?
this is, I don't know.
I was probably like 7, so like
this is
2005, 2006.
2005, 2006. And we decided we were going to do tri-tip sandwiches for opening ceremony. So I think we bought.
How did you get in? How did you get in on that? How did they let you do that?
They loved the idea because no one would do anything but an old hot dog. So
You just told Pete, "Let me take over."
Take over, and we're gonna do some tri-tip sandwiches. So I think we cooked 24 tri-tip that day, sliced them up, and made a couple hundred sandwiches out of them. Boiled hot dogs in a big like 5-gallon bubbling hot drum of scalding water, and would throw like 50 hot dogs in at once. And then we'd finish them off on the grill. We did burgers.
Yeah, I was completely unaware. I was running around with my friends, partaking in the ceremony. But I remember the build-up. I remember you and Mom would really have it dialed in. You guys would go to Costco. You guys had your list. You would come back and you would unpack everything like
Truckloads.
Yeah, literally, our
truckload.
garage would just be filled with coolers and coolers of meat. And
Yeah, because I had to marinate 24 tri-tips.
I mean, you would wake up at like 4 in the morning. I would get dry. I'm like, why are we getting? We have to get there. We have to marinate.
Got to get the grill started.
We have to get the grill going.
Got to get the wood started.
And you're lucky that you found a wife that is like, yeah, sure, I'll put in a 13-hour day grilling tri-tips
Cooked for 400 or 500 people.
500 people.
But it was a hit. Everybody really liked the tri-tip sandwich.
Oh yeah, that I would say is probably the peak of your barbecue career, because that's probably the most people you've ever cooked for.
Oh yeah.
And everyone loved it. Like I remember it was like the talk of the.
Yeah.
It was like 3 years in a row you did that.
We did that for 3 years, and then we finally got smart and said we passed the torch and said someone else can do that. So let's talk about the perfect tri-tip.
I want to know your methods. We want to all of our loyal listeners out there, we want you guys to know the secrets to your good grilling.
So
the perfect tri-tip.
The perfect tri-tip. So you got to buy your tri-tip early. You can't go buy that in the afternoon and go slap it on the grill, because one of the key components of the perfect tri-tip is a good 24-hour marinade.
Full day
of marinade. So there's two.
Where do you get your tri-tip?
I prefer Costco's tri-tip. They trim their tri-tip. So let's start with buying the right tri-tip. If you buy a tri-tip from a lot of butcher shops or a lot of grocery stores, they have a big layer of fat on one side. And I think that's the enemy. It makes it flame up on the grill. And then when you cut it, you got this ring of fat.
But isn't fat where the flavor is?
Well, there's plenty of fat marbled in the tri-tip. So you don't need that extra fat. I know other guys out there would argue with me saying, no, the fat gives it all the flavor. I disagree. Harder to cook, harder to carve, and it's not as good for you because you're eating a lot more fat. So I tend to always get a trimmed tri-tip. And then if it's not trimmed, you just got to get your knife and your hands in there and trim that fat layer right off. So after you got a nice trimmed tri-tip, usually anywhere from, I like about a 2.5, 3 pound tri-tip.
What's a good price that you should pay?
Oh, it's all over the board. When we first started doing tri-tip, it was you could get it for $4.99 a pound at Costco. It's now up to about $9 to $10 a pound.
Dang.
And you can go pay $15 a pound for it at one of those boutique grocery stores. or a place like Whole Paycheck.
Whole Paycheck. So
So
that's good. Wait, so
yeah,
expect to pay about $30 a tri-tip.
yeah, good try. Yeah, 2.5 pounds, 8.99. Yeah,
That's actually decent. I mean, how much is like a bunch
you
of
feed a
filet
lot of
mignons?
people for $30.
Yeah.
So it's a good value.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so now you have the perfect tri-tip, right? You got it all trimmed up. Now you need to marinate it. And now here's another, and this again, everybody who does tri-tip has their own way, but this is just talking about
The Pappy way.
the Pappy way. I like to wet marinade. So either you put a dry rub on it, or you wet marinade. And I'm in the school of I like sauce over it. So in order to get a really good sauce, I make a marinade, and then when you put the steak on, instead of tossing that marinade, you put that marinade in a saucepan and you boil it. And for the whole time you're cooking the tri-tip, you're simmering the sauce. So it kills any bacteria that's already in there. You never eat a sauce from raw meat. So now you take the sauce, you boil, you don't boil it, you bring it to a boil, but then you just simmer it, on a low temperature for the hour you're cooking the tri-tip. And it turns into almost like a tri-tip gravy. It thickens up like that, and it just coats.
The glimmer in your eye when you said tri-tip gravy.
Oh, tri-tip gravy. Give me a biscuit and I'll be done. So you have what you do. You have your marinade, and instead of just tossing it like most people would toss their marinade, I always boil the marinade, and that makes your sauce.
Okay, let's talk marinade.
So let's talk marinade. I choose a teriyaki marinade.
Most of the time. Sometimes you go a little different.
On tri-tip, always the same.
Really?
Always a teriyaki
You've
marinade.
never made a tri-tip with any other marinade than the one you do?
No, I've done some dry rub, but I'm not always as happy as with the end product as the wet marinade. So
Okay, so this is your wet marinade that you always stick with.
yeah. So soy
I didn't
sauce.
know that.
All right. Soy sauce would be about 60 to 70% of the volume. Okay. And then use a good, probably another 10% of olive oil. And olive oil just helps, I think, kind of coat the meat and makes everything stick. Mm-hmm. And then the famous Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. That's just a great flavor additive.
That's kind of similar to A1, right?
No, it's different than A1.
Okay.
It's an old English, comes from England. It is a old ingredient, Worcestershire. So
10%
great.
that.
About 10% that, 10% oil, and then we put in a little bit of hot sauce. So you take one of your favorite hot sauces.
That's something you vary.
I vary depending on the crowd, how hot we want to make it. But a few shakes of some hot sauce, give it some heat.
What's your go-to?
Yeah, you can use Frank's. We used a lot of Frank's.
Yeah.
But any red pepper sauce.
Yeah.
All right. Then a big scoop of garlic, fresh garlic.
Yeah.
Chopped garlic.
We like the big Costco minced garlic. So that's typically what you go with.
We buy our garlic by the pound. So
By the container.
big old scoop of garlic, and then a little bit of brown sugar. If you're not going to use, you need some sweetness in it, right? So if you're not going to use a teriyaki based, if you're going to make it from scratch with the soy sauce, then you need to get some sugar in there.
Yeah, a lot of salt.
So it's already, the soy will have the salt in it, so you don't need any more salt. You just need some sugar. So a couple good heaping tablespoons of brown sugar.
Yeah. Any other sweeteners you use?
You could put a little alcohol in there too.
Honey?
You could use honey, but it's a little different flavor. I don't ever use honey. So soy, brown sugar, Worcestershire, olive oil, garlic. Done. Mix all that up.
Simple.
For one tri-tip, you need about 2 cups. So for every tri-tip, and I usually stuff 2 tri-tip in one marinade pan with maybe 2 to 3 cups of marinade.
Okay.
So now we got that marinade. It's got to sit in the refrigerator for a good solid 24 hours. So you always do this the day before. And then when you're ready to grill.
That's really the secret, is the long marinade.
Yes. And you got to bounce that thing around. If it's in a pan, you got to flip it.
Yeah.
If it's in a plastic Ziploc bag, it's a little easier, a little less mess. We're trying to get away from plastic as much, so we kind of use a glass, the glass.
Yeah, like a serving dish.
Yeah, like a Pyrex dish, and then try to flip it a few times during the marinade.
Yeah.
All right, so now you're on grill day, right? It's like game day. Game day for Pappy. Okay. Now it's game day, so you take that out maybe a good hour before, out of the fridge before, at least a half an hour. Bring it up to temperature a little bit, and then get your grill going. And usually start it off never on high. So usually the barbecue on low or medium. Put it right on the lower grill and give it 5 minutes, no longer. I don't.
What kind of grill are you rocking with? You're not a big Traeger guy because you're a smoker. You got something different, but like, what kind of grill are you?
Well, you could do that on a charcoal Weber. You could do it on a gas grill. Right now, I'm grilling on a gas grill because I got a lot of control over it, and it goes really low. I can get the temperature running about 250 degrees on this grill, and it's a 42-inch Eagle American Eagle grill made right here in Southern California, and it's been just a great grill. Goes real low. So
Yeah.
been good, and it's got a big upper deck.
Well, that's your secret, is to start it on the lower deck,
Just 5 minutes each side on the lower deck.
just to kind of crisp it up a little bit.
90% of my cooking is on the upper deck.
Yeah.
I cook like it's cheap seats, the upper deck. All right. So
Nosebleeds.
the lower deck is a very fast, just flip it around,
That's
maybe
burgers.
finish it off. Burgers. If you want to do something real quick, a hot dog, finish off some sausage with some grill marks. But all of the work is done on the upper grill,
Yeah, that's where the magic happens.
upper deck,
Well, that goes right in with your slogan for grilling,
low and slow.
low and slow.
So now you got it 5 minutes on one side, 5 minutes on the other. No heavy char marks, maybe just some nice light grill marks on it, and then put that on the upper deck.
And forget about it.
And don't forget about it. You gotta check on them, but you gotta get the lid down. If you want to throw some smoke in there, you get some chips going on there, and you can just drop them right on the grill. They work great.
Yeah.
Just a few chips go a long way. They start smoking up a little bit. Put that grill lid down, give it 10, 15 minutes. Give it a flip, 10, 15 more. The tri-tip does not come off the grill till you've hit 1 hour.
And you're grilling at 250?
That's going to grill between 275 and 300.
Okay.
Yeah, 300 would be the max, because remember, if you get up to 350 or 400 an hour, you're going to have a piece of charcoal on there. So you got to keep that
You're going
nice
to be
and low.
G. Paul Wilson style.
You're going to be G. Paul Wilson. So you want to keep that about 275, 300, and then basically that's about another 50 minutes on the grill. I get a little impatient, so I like to flip it a few times.
Check on your work.
Yeah, poke it around. Do the old hand trick, right? It's just going to be right here in that hand. If it feels like that, it's just about medium.
Oh, what? If it feels like the little web between your
Yep.
thumb and your pointer,
There it is.
that's what you want it to feel like?
It's done right there.
Where did you learn that trick?
Just a little, just
A little snap.
little snap, but a little bit of movement still.
Where did you come up with that by yourself?
I don't know. No, someone taught me that one. I can't take credit for that.
That's funny.
So you know why you don't want to just forget about it, because you don't want to pull up the grill, 40 minutes later and then it's charcoal. So you keep an eye on it, keep your eye on the temperature, and then you just kind of get a feel for them. So if you got multiple, let's say you're doing 4 or 6 tri-tips, you move them around, make sure you don't have a hot spot on your grill, keep moving them around, keep
Yep.
flipping them.
That's important.
And then as soon as you put them on, remember, you got to take that sauce and you got to put it in a saucepan inside, put it on low, and get that sauce going.
Because that's the secret. When it's done and it's all carved up, to dump that sauce back over
Secret
is like
sauce.
brings it all together.
Yeah,
really.
that's the secret sauce right there. And that's why I use a wet marinade instead of a dry marinade, because with the dry marinade, you're only relying on the juices inside the tri-tip, which, if you
It's
want to
sometimes
just
enough.
taste the meat, and have a couple slices, it's good. But when you have the sauce poured over it, it's when everybody came around and said, "Wow,
Yeah.
that's a good tri-tip."
It's
So
the extra.
it worked, and we kept moving on with it.
So do you ever use a meat thermometer? Are you at expert level where it's not needed?
I got 10 of those little meat thermometers.
I hope your fingers aren't digging around in the tri-tip.
No, I don't use a meat thermometer. I've got enough of a feel for it. But if you're starting out and you want to use a meat thermometer, then you want to be somewhere like, I don't know, 130 to 140, like kind of 150 is starting to get
Too cooked.
a little too cooked. Yeah,
Yeah,
160, you're almost well done on it. So
Because your meat, it's not really rare.
I don't ever like a rare one because
It's a true medium.
yeah, you really want, if you can get the majority of the inside as just a nice pink medium, I think that's when the meat is the most tender.
And then the edges are a little bit more for those who like it like that.
Yeah, and usually if you're cooking for 6, 8, 10 people, there's always the rares, there's always the mediums, and there's always the well done.
And that's what's nice about a tri-tip is it's,
You make everybody happy.
yeah.
Yeah, and the person who wants well, you just cut those little ends off there, and you got a nice well done piece. And the person who likes the rare, you give them that center cut, and they're happy.
Well, and with the sauce too, if you have the wells on each side, the sauce comes over, you forget it. It's well done. Like you're not tasting that rare, but it's just as like
The ends are almost as tender as the middle.
yeah,
Yeah.
tender.
But I've had tri-tip where it's rare, like, red rare in the middle, and it didn't get enough heat to break down the meat, so it's tough.
Yeah,
So someone would say, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want you to make it, a medium well because it gets too tough." It's not true. If the meat's broken down, it's just as tender. And I've proven that 100 tri-tips deep,
how many tri-tips do you think you've cooked?
I would say it's over 500 tri-tip.
I think more than that.
It could be, but I'm going to go 500 at least. It's a lot of tri-tip. That's 250 cows worth.
Oh my god.
Every cow only has 2 tri-tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get one on the left, one on the right. There's not any in the middle.
So what is it about the tri-tip? Where did you discover, this is the best cut as opposed to, your other cuts? Because I love a good fillet. There's so many different cuts in a cow.
It's it's a rancher's cut. And, my grandfather owned a cattle ranch. So I although haven't had any experience in the ranching business in my 54 years of this life, I was exposed to it. And a lot of ranchers like that cut. And that's probably going back to the story where most butchers used it as hamburger. It was a cheap steak that, they probably were paying $1 or $2 a pound for it. And you had time to have it on an open grill, cook it slow. And it just evolved as that cut of meat that everybody didn't know about, but it was special.
What's your next favorite cut?
Well, you can take the next would have to be
That you like to grill.
Would have to be a filet mignon tenderloin, and you get that tenderloin, which is like the back strap of meat, runs along it's kind of the rear of the cow along the top, and I think there's one on each side coming down, so you'd get 2 tenderloins. But you can buy that all in a steak, like a roast, and that's really good. And I do it the same way as I do a tri-tip. You'd give it a little bit of sear on it, and then low and slow again. You don't want to burn it. I want to touch real quick about why not to burn meat, because there's a lot of people out there that do tri-tip and they burn them because it's such a big piece and they think you got to cook it so hot, and you char the whole outside. And I was going to write the down, but there's about 5 really long names of what's so bad about burning meat. But it's basically it's carbon, and it's all carcinogens. Yeah, they're all carcinogens, and none of them are good for you. They're just not healthy to eat. So if you can my method of cooking low and slow is to avoid putting all of that carbon
Cancerous,
all over this.
you know.
Yeah, this perfect cut of meat, and you've made it something that's not. Now it's really unhealthy.
Now it's
for
detrimental
you
to you as opposed to, you know.
Yeah, because it's got charcoal all over it. You're eating charcoal.
Well, that's the same with like toast, burning anything. Is if it's charred up like that, toss it.
Yeah, toss it out. So my approach to like doing chicken is the same thing. I like to do a batch of chicken. The chicken never even sees the lower deck. It's only upper deck.
Shout out Mary's Chicken.
Mary's Chicken, good chicken. And same thing. All right, get your chicken, make your marinade. Now, chicken is where we do a lot of different marinades. We'll do a Caribbean jerk.
We get crazy with the chicken.
Yeah, Caribbean jerk makes a really good tender chicken. The jerk in there, you can put a little extra rum in there, help break down that chicken.
You really have been adventurous with your alcohols in your cooking lately.
Well, alcohol breaks down the protein in meats. So if you want it tender,
Why is that good to break down the protein?
Well, then it makes it more tender. You want to break that down a little bit, and so
it just melts
I've been
in your mouth?
experimenting with, if you're gonna kind of do a chicken, a Caribbean chicken, you use rum. You can even put tequila if you're doing like chicken for chicken tacos, or I'm gonna make some chicken enchiladas. You can put a little tequila in there.
Ooh,
So
fun.
you kind of go regional.
Yeah.
See, it's a geographic thing.
Oh, wow.
It's geography.
Pappy Hour.
Where we are. If we're doing Irish chicken, which I don't think I ever have, you could use Jameson's.
What would
I'm
Irish
a big
chicken
fan of
be?
Jameson's whiskey.
Just butter chicken.
Just chicken with whiskey.
I know.
Irish chicken. Take a bite of chicken and a shot of Jameson. All right. So the same theory is true for the chicken. Get your chicken the day before. Get it marinated. 24 hours of marinating. Put your chicken on. Take that marinade. Boil it down. A lot of people are skeptical about, chicken. You're gonna get
The
sick
juices,
from,
you gotta throw it away.
Yeah, but I use it every time. It's never made anybody sick.
Yeah, as long as it comes to a boiling point.
It's got to simmer. It's got to boil, come to a boil, and then simmer. And again, it turns down into, now it's chicken gravy.
Chicken gravy.
So, and that it really makes for tender chicken when you pour that sauce that's simmered over the top.
Yeah, you make really good chicken. You usually go for the thighs.
Yeah, boneless, skinless breast or boneless, skinless thighs.
Yeah.
Are my two. The skin is fine, but it just burns it up a little more. And most people you ever see take off the skin, so I prefer to get the skinless.
Well, because the skin is good when it gets nice and crispy.
I love skin on a turkey on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and you're low and slow, so you're not going for that crispy, like fried chicken type of vibe.
Any chicken will work, and you want to have skin on. If you want to have bones in, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I watched a lot of people eat chicken with bones in it, and a lot of meat gets thrown away.
Yeah.
So when you go boneless, it's all gone. There's nothing to throw away.
Yeah.
But the chicken never touches the bottom deck. It only goes up top, and 1 hour. And
1 hour for the chicken?
1 hour for chicken.
And probably a lower temperature than the tri-tip?
Again, you're probably between 250 and 300.
Okay.
Hot enough to do it, but in 1 hour, all that marinade just starts soaking up and glazing on the chicken. Mm-hmm. You don't have any carbon burnt marks on there. There's no you might have, if you have a hot spot, you might have one or two here, but for the most part, it's real evenly cooked. And a new thing that I've started doing with the chicken is taking it off maybe about a half an hour before dinner time, so you can kind of do the chicken earlier. Put it in a baking dish, cover it with tin foil, pour that sauce that you just simmered back over it, and throw it in the oven on about 300 degrees, and it just keeps baking that chicken. So it just keeps getting more tender and tender.
It's basically like throwing it back on the barbecue with all the sauces again.
Yeah, but it's giving it some steam. So now with it covered, it's going to steam it a little bit.
Yeah, more tender.
So both of my favorite dishes of chicken and tri-tip.
Well, you have a trifecta. The holy trinity of Pat's barbecue is the third.
You want to talk about John Madden?
No, not the turducken.
No.
What's your third favorite?
John Madden brats.
Oh, okay.
I learned that from John Madden.
Really?
Now I say that like I'm buddies with John Madden. Well, I wish, because he's one individual I really wish I would have met him in my life. And
Sit like who would you meet, dead or alive? Sit at the table and have dinner with John
he
Madden.
was
would be
my
one?
top. He was in my top 5. Amazing man, greatest coach of all times, and just a great man. But I was
Expert barbecuer.
watching football. I was in my early 20s, watching John Madden on a Sunday morning, and he is in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he's doing a game, game day live, John Madden style, and he's walking around. He's walking around the parking lot and looking at tailgates going on, and
he's about to coach a game.
No, he was going to go broadcast a game. He wasn't a coach then; he was a broadcaster.
Okay.
So he walks up, and there they are, doing the John Madden effect of boiling the beer and boiling the bratwurst in beer.
I didn't know this is where you got your thing.
Yep, this is a huge thing in Wisconsin. And then when you're boiling, so it's not just the German way would just be put the bratwurst in beer and boil them up and serve them, but they're not very sexy. They don't look like your ballpark Frank, right? They look like a white
They're busted
sausage. Up. You put them on a bun and you slather them with sauerkraut and mustard, and you get another liter of beer, and you put on your lederhosen, and you're at Oktoberfest.
And you're on your way.
But what John Madden liked is he believed in taking them out of the beer and putting them back on the grill to get some grill marks. And he said they look a little sexier.
So it has nothing to do with flavor per se, but
it does.
bite and...
It does. It changes the texture a little bit.
It's crispy.
It crispies up the skin.
Yeah, it's more of a bite into it.
Yeah, it's more like how you're used to having a grilled hot dog.
Yeah.
So why I started doing it is we would do it when we were tailgating at San Francisco 49er games. And it was always, most of the time it was cold when that was the, October, November, December games in San Francisco. So you'd start this big Weber and get a big fire going.
And you had plenty of beer.
We had some beer there. And what we would do is you would get the beer boiling, and then it was just fun because you bounced them back from the grill to the beer. And then you were just kind of, because it kept you right over the grill. So it kept you warm. You only needed one hand to do it because you would use tongs.
Pair of tongs.
Yeah, pair of tongs. So
just an extension of your body at this point.
Yeah, you had one hand going from the grill to the pot of boiling beer, and then it was good because it kept another hand open
for beer
in your hand. So that was a way for the bratwurst. So that is the trifecta. You got the tri-tip, you got the chicken,
day.
and you have the bratwurst. And if I could serve a party of 20, that would be the three meats that I've had the best luck with.
Yeah, your brats are good.
Going back to the brats, they have to be raw. And
what kind do you get?
The best brats I found for consistency are Johnsonville brats. And I don't buy the beer brats. I don't buy they have some different flavors, just regular plain bratwurst.
And you don't marinate those?
No,
you don't
no marinate. Just dump them right into the beer, start simmering them, and then bounce them on the grill.
So you use like one of those tin trays?
Sure, you could use it. Yeah, I usually use a shallow tin tray because it gets the beer boiling up real good.
Mm-hmm. You could also use just a pot or a pan, right?
Well,
you don't want to submerge them though fully.
Yeah, they can submerge in there. Oh,
okay,
it's fine. Well, you just need to have something you can that can go on the grill.
Yeah.
All right. So with those three, that's the trifecta.
And you got to eat your brats with some Sierra Nevada mustard.
Sierra Nevada mustard.
Shout out Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada, maker of some of the best beer in the world.
Could you imagine if we got sponsored by Sierra Nevada, Tommy Bahama, and Mary's Chicken?
Well, that would be a trifecta in itself. All right, so I just wanted to make sure we touched on the full that we got the marinade down, right?
Yep.
And how much, but we were going to also touch on
the wet marinade particularly rather than the dry.
Yes,
because the wet marinade turns into your
Oh,
gravy.
I know it. I was going to give so that's our way of tri-tip, tested with multiple large gatherings, right? We've done it
Many
for
a generation, many a place. You've cooked tri-tip in Ireland.
family reunions with 100 deep.
Well, no, you haven't because they don't sell tri-tip there, but you've barbecued for them over there.
Yeah, no tri-tip in Ireland. I think next time we go to Ireland, I'm going to smuggle, because you can't bring meat in, I'm going to smuggle in a frozen tri-tip.
How are you going to do that?
Well, I probably won't, because I don't want to go to an Irish prison. What are you in for?
It's not worth it.
Murder. What are you in for? Mugging. What are you in for? Smuggling a tri-tip from California.
Why did Pat go to Irish jail? Smuggling tri-tip.
Okay, so one quick story that I forgot to tell earlier about burning a tri-tip. So there was a restaurant. It's since gone out of business. We won't name it, but it was a pretty popular place in Almaden in South San Jose. And they did have some good things on the menu. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it was a popular place. And in one of my grills, we were doing some charity grill or a school event. We used to do almost all your school events. So we were grilling up tri-tip, and I had the owner of that restaurant tell me his secret tri-tip and what was his secret of success of his tri-tip
Did you have to pull
sandwich.
it out of him, or was he just...
No, he was a very boisterous individual, and he wanted to make sure I was doing it the wrong way, my way.
Oh, so you were cooking and he was like,
Yeah,
yo,
he was
not
Monday
me.
morning quarterback in my tri-tip.
Oh, man.
So I had asked him, and I had never had his tri-tip at his restaurant. And so I asked him how he did it, and he explained to me. And then a couple of weeks after that, we went to the restaurant. I had a tri-tip, and I couldn't even finish it. It was so bad. It was the toughest. And so how he did it was exactly the opposite of everything I did.
High and fast?
He burnt the tri-tip, burnt the whole thing so it was blackened. And so then it was raw in the middle. So he would burn the whole thing in like 15 minutes. And then he would slice it and then put that back on the grill to finish cooking it. And as a businessman, it was a good way because you could do those real quick, and then you could finish cooking them as people bought the tri-tip.
Oh, yeah.
But it was exactly the opposit of everything I did.
If you want to live a long life.
And then I tried one of those sandwiches, and it was the worst ever. So my method has stood up over the last 30 years, and we're going to keep doing it that way.
Yeah, it's so interesting with barbecuing and cooking, in general, that it's completely free reign. Everyone has their own ideas. Everyone has their own ways they do things. The difference, they're infinite. You can cook at this temperature and marinate it this long and give it this flavor and give it this rub. There's an infinite amount of variables that you can switch up when it comes to barbecuing and sub one thing in here and sub one thing out there. And everyone does it their own way. And that's the beauty of it.
And if you get 10 testosterone filled middle-aged men,
slightly overweight
on a Sunday during the fall of football season, I mean, there could be fights breaking out.
Oh yeah, are you
every
kidding me?
guy thinks his grilling and his turns out better than anyone else's. They know all the ways. So this is I don't know, this is an episode that might not be our best episode.
It's fun.
But I've had a lot of compliments in our end product of our catering events of cooking. So I thought it was right that we shared it.
Oh yeah. Well, this is your podcast, and the whole point of this podcast is really to just show who you are. And one of the things that I would plaster on your mood board if I had to make you a Patrick mood board would be a giant fat tri-tip. Yeah. So it really is a part of who you are, how you cook, why you cook. It's just who you are. You're a generous guy. You love to cook. It's just part of who you are, and this is how you do it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's relaxing. So if someone pays for if you needed a relaxing thing in your life, whether it was a massage or counseling, talking to someone, taking a walk on a secluded beach, my Zen time is sitting over a grill. Nothing makes me happier.
Why do you think that
what
is?
event did we just got back from a long trip, and 2 days later
You were dying to grill.
we got back on Thursday night from almost a 24-day trip to Europe. We went back. We went shopping to Costco Friday and got ready the whole day Friday. And Saturday morning we were at the Stanford Oregon Ducks game.
Oh yeah.
Grilling up for about 20. That was a couple tri-tip.
Oh yeah.
Some bratwurst, but
And those were all my friends who have had, how many tri-tip do you think that my friends have consumed over the years?
Yeah.
Like 50 between, it's 10 of my best friends.
but they didn't have it for a long time.
I know, it's been a while. It's few and far between. Growing up, playing softball and hanging out at my house.
It was every other weekend.
They were having tri-tip all the time. And now, it's few and far between. So they're like, is your dad coming? Is he barbecuing? I'm like, it's special and it's really a part of who you are. Why do you think that it's so relaxing for you? Because for some people, they'd be like frantic and I'm going to burn it. It's not relaxing. Why is it relaxing to you?
Well, I think because I'm comfortable enough. I pretty much, it's not, if the only part that is a variable is the grill.
Yeah.
So when we were at the Stanford game, I was grilling old school over charcoal. Mm-hmm. So things are a little dicey, and I think the tri-tips came off a little later because the fire was rainy that day. Mm-hmm. And when you're burning, when you're cooking over wood or charcoal, the weather really changes up. I mean,
because not only does it affect the cooking, the charcoal, the cooking, what's producing the heat,
Yeah.
It affects the temperature of the meat.
It does. So if you have a grill and you're in the sun and it's 90 degrees out, your meat cooks twice as fast if you have a rainy, cloudy day and it's 55 degrees outside.
How about at altitude?
Altitude, the only thing different in altitude really is boiling water. So
Yeah.
it's not affecting it. But when it's cold and when it's wet out, you really got to build a better fire. So when you're on a gas grill, it's just a knob away, right? But when you're cooking, get the old briquettes out. That's a little bit of a challenge. So I was a little challenged at the Stanford Oregon game.
I know you hadn't had tongs in your hand for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I pulled it off, but I was a little stressed. That wasn't super relaxing.
That one wasn't.
Yeah, and
that was so fun.
but with my grill that I have here, the American Eagle, 42-inch, with all my buttons
American
and gadgets
made.
on it, American made,
Stainless steel.
It's relaxing because I can control it. I don't botch it, and when I grill, no one asks me a lot of questions, so it's just relaxing. I can usually have
I've been asking you questions for the last hour.
I could have a couple Coors Lights.
The truth comes out.
I'm out of the kitchen.
Yeah, you're outside. You're
Yeah.
outdoors.
So Mom's not asking me questions.
I'm not asking you questions.
I'm outdoors.
You're outdoors. You're by yourself. You're sipping a Coors Light. That's
And
a
then-
good life for
when we finish dinner,
a dad.
and the group, the dinner for 6 or 8 or 10, and the food is just mowed through, then that's a good feeling.
Yeah. You feel appreciated. You feel like you provided. It touches on all the most primal things.
If there's one thing to conclude with why I think my grilling career has been successful, is due to the amount of tri-tip leftovers. There's rarely any
I was
leftover.
going to say, there's not usually a lot of leftovers.
I mean, the meat eaters come out of the woodwork and they just keep carving away, have another piece.
One of my favorite tri-tip stories is in 8th grade, I was about to leave on our Washington, D.C. trip with our class.
Oh.
And it was just kind of spring. It was spring break. So just kind of spring turned into summer. It was grilling season back up again. And you were starting to grill. And you're like, Jess, you're going with all your friends. Like, you're going to be on this plane. You're going to be at the port. Like, let me make you guys some tri-tip to go.
And I was you a tri-tip
yeah,
to
Dad.
DC.
So I just remember I showed up at school and the bus was there to take us to the airport. And I had a massive Tupperware full of fresh tri-tip.
Yeah.
And all of my friends' grubby fingers were digging in that thing on
Digging
the public bus.
Oh, I love it.
And people were just passing the tin around. It was gone in less than 5 minutes. Like, my friends just mowed through this. And you're like, just throw. You gave me like the crappiest Tupperware we had. You're like, just toss it. Make sure everyone gets a piece.
Get some tri-tip in.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah, your friends. You've got a couple of friends that really appreciate my tri-tip. So
yeah,
that's why I do it. That's why I do it. We're going to conclude with, I want everybody to see our beautiful, natural, noble fur.
We're
we got it all decorated.
We're a noble fur family, not a
noble
Douglas.
fur. We got some great ornaments on here.
Yep.
From Gus, the old yellow lab.
Yep, and possibly a new dog in our future.
Oh boy.
Possibly.
We'll see.
We'll see how that goes.
It's
We're
in
missing
discussion.
a dog. We talked about dogs a couple episodes back.
We're dog people.
We're dog people,
I've had
and
a dog my whole life.
and we've been without one for about 2 years now, and we think it's time to add to the fam.
I had Happy the Beagle, Gus the Labrador, and then Coco and Chloe the Cavaliers.
Yep, I think.
AKA Dumb and Dumber.
Hey, they loved your cooking.
Yeah, they really did.
You made a lot of chicken for them.
We'd call them Dumb and Dumber or Biscuits and Gravy. Because one was built like a biscuit and one kind of was like gravy. She was just all over the place. Shifty.
Confused.
They were always a little confused, but they sure loved ham sandwiches.
And they loved to sit on your lap, and they were just the best companions. So we're in the coming episodes, you may or may not see a dog appear on that lap.
Oh yeah, if it does, it's going right here.
Yep, we'll
All right.
introduce them to the world. Anything else to say? This was episode 6 in the books, Low and Slow.
Shout out to our favorite veterans organizations, Tunnel to Towers.
Yep,
Give a donation. Look them up online.
Holiday season, if you're feeling giving. But yeah, 'tis the season. Shout out to our producer, Tristan.
Our
Couldn't
main
do
man
this
behind.
without him.
Main man behind.
But yeah, we skipped a week last week. We were kind of under the weather a little bit. It was Thanksgiving week, so we skipped a week, but we're back this week.
Back on schedule.
Coming to you live every Wednesday. We're going to be back on schedule. We're working out the kinks, but yeah, episode 6 in the books. Thanks everyone for tuning in and listening to this episode that really gives you an insight into one of his biggest personality traits: providing for people, cooking, grilling, drinking Coors Light outdoors.
Tri-tip Pappy. Boop. Peace.